Falcons world, what's going on out there? This is your boy Berto, your host of the 95 North Falcons Talk Show, exclusively here on YouTube. And as you already know, I am your at Bleacher Report content creator for these same Atlanta Falcons. But joining me today, man, buddy, where have you been? It is John of Out of Your Falcon Mind, man. Brother, how are you? How have you been? It's been a long time, man. What's up?
Man, I told Savion last week on our show, between him and yourself, y'all are the busiest dudes right now, I think, in Atlanta freaking Falcons content creation, man. It's crazy. Y'all are just like nonstop, all over the place.
Crazy.
Which is awesome because, dude, it's great, man. But no, dude, it has been forever since, Mike took his time off, and it's like, now we're getting back out. We'll be live tomorrow night, 8:15 to preview the game with the Steelers coming up. Like I said, Mike, he can't wait to get back. But we took that little break, man, and it's been like months since we did the 95 North 75 South show together.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that back going whenever we got time during the season.
Absolutely.
But no, that's great, man. Nothing changed a little bit except I hear the pub making some noise, and mine's probably gonna make some noise pretty soon. My beard's a little grayer. My back hurts a little bit more. My lower back's a little bit more painful than the last time. Went to a concert last night, with a bunch of young folks. So you know what I mean? It's feeling those way. But hey, I'm thankful to be back on, man. It's great to be with you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Likewise here, man. Yes, like you mentioned, man. It's been a lot. It's been really, really busy on my end, man. Just multiple shows and the round table and Bleacher Report. So it's been a nonstop affair, to say the least. But I'm glad that you're going back into this space. Shout out to folks that are coming through the chat. Jared Talks, thank you for being part of the stream this afternoon. We definitely appreciate it, man. But yeah, man. So a lot to talk about these Atlanta Falcons for 2024. Last night, myself and Bro Talk, better known as Kev, or just Bro Talk on Twitter, came up with this amazing concept to a show, recapping the 2024 campaign. But that's available on the 95 North Falcons Talk Show on YouTube. If you guys want to go ahead and check that out, greatly appreciate it if you do. But tonight or today, we're going to be talking about some of the players that face the most pressure going into 2024, man. And I think it's a relevant question because this is a loaded and stacked offensive roster that Kirk Cousins walks into. Kirk Cousins himself, a lot is being expected from him. But to some of the guys, which we'll break down very shortly, on who those guys and who we think is facing the most pressure, I'm going to go back into the chat and shout out Lisa Shepard that's in the building. And Deep Ruffin, what is going on, man? Earlier today, some news broke, man, about the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm going to share that with y'all in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so that way you guys know exactly what we're talking about. And that is our Atlanta Falcons have chosen the captains for this 2024 campaign, as you see it there: Jake, Grady, Jesse, and Kurt, man. So really great group of guys, for trendsetters in this league. Each one of those guys successful at their position, and as the standing vets in this team, I really like the makeup of this, man. What say you, Mike Lane?
Yeah, dude. I don't know how you pick any other than those four guys right there. That's perfect. You got Jake, who's the longest tenured guy, and on the offense, that left tackle stalwart. Of course, we can't leave Grady out to year 10 about to start. We all know what Jesse means, man, and and Kirk. Hey, we know what he's been since he's been here, so it makes perfect sense, man. Perfect sense.
Yeah. Perfect sense, man. So, yeah, great group of guys, man. Kirk always been a leader, so to say, in this league with, in his early years with Washington and with Minnesota, coming in now to Atlanta. He just picks up where he left off, where he's leaving off. Jesse Bates, the leader last year on this defense overall, and in the absence of Grady, as we all know, coming back from an injury. And Jake just speaks for himself, man. He's the Iron Man of this team. So really glad that it's these guys. And from there on, man, we're going to dive right into it. John, like I mentioned at the top, man, Kirk Cousins comes into town, but he comes into a loaded roster as far as premium talent at a lot of the important positions, the wide receiver, the tight end, and the running back room. But begs the question, right? Who faces the most pressure to produce out of the core guys in this offense. And I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again, and we're going to go right through the depth chart. It's going to show this one for this year, but we already know what this entails and what we're looking at as far as certain names on this Falcons roster. But right there, is that good right there? Can y'all see that pretty good? Yeah, I think that's pretty good right there. Mr. Wallace Smith, glad you're part of the stream. What's going on with you? Liam, the coolest kid in the South. What's going on, buddy? Good to hear from you. John Brooks, thank you for joining the stream, bro. Appreciate you coming by. But as it stands there, John, we got Kirk Cousins, Bijan, Drake. I'll exclude Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod in this one. But Kyle Pitts is another name. Tyler Algier is a name. Of these guys, we can even go offensive line. I mean, Caleb McGarry's another guy we can probably thrust in there as somebody that has to prove his worth, especially at that right tackle position. I feel good about the rest of the offensive linemen, him being the only asterisk on this offensive line. But to you, my friend, of these guys, who do you see faces the most pressure in 2024 to go on and produce?
I mean, the easy answer is Kirk, right? Because, I mean, coming in, the money, we haven't had we all know what the quarterback rooms look like the last couple of years. So it's like we're all just expecting this to just be flipped on its head, and he's going to take off, and so I mean, I don't think he necessarily feels. I think he like as a player and as a guy, like he always just feels that drive, and I don't think he sees it as pressure. As more or less just like that's just what I'm expected to do. I'm set to go out there and do my job, right? From the fans, though, I think it feels like I mean, you're the one leading the ship, so it's like you probably have the most pressure to go out there and make sure this offense does what it's supposed to do, which is put up points, which we couldn't do on a consistent basis, for the last couple of years. So like that's the easy answer. But yeah, I mean, like you just mentioned, Kyle, man. I mean, Kyle's coming into a contract year, and coming off and look, we all know who was throwing the ball the last few years. We know we look like during, his rookie year with Matt. So, I mean, but whether it's with us or somebody else, like this is his year to go out there and be like, hey, look, I'm back. This is the Kyle Pitts y'all drafted, number 4 overall. So yeah, that's my 2.
Yeah, great pick. I'll piggyback a little bit more off of what you just said about Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I think really now the excuses fall by the wayside. You are now deemed 100% healthy, and you're going into a favorable scheme now with Zach Robinson as our first-year offensive coordinator for these Atlanta Falcons. Of course, the most important position was rectified in the offseason, bringing in Kirk Cousins, to be under center. And the great things that we've seen thus far from training camp, and shout out to Joe Patrick, Bryce Lewis, Daniel Flick, and all of these guys that keep us in the know with footage and little clips and videos, so we can get a first-person view of what these guys have looked like in training camp. But Pitts has been as advertised, man. That unicorn, it just feels like it's going to come to fruition this year. Better quarterback play or elite quarterback play now to, maximize all of his qualities as a tight end. Going to serve a little bit as a wide receiver too, as Zach Robinson alluded to early on in the year. So I really feel like this has to be, it's a make or break year for Kyle Pitts. I agree. He's no longer going to be facing these underthrown footballs that, have hindered us for the better part of two years. Hopefully now with Kurt, these balls are going to be dropped in on a dime, as Kurt is a very accurate quarterback. And we use Kyle Pitts and utilize him properly this year. Last year with Arthur Smith, it was a mixed bag. We didn't really know what we were going to get from Kyle Pitts. We completely lost him in one game having blocking assignments. And now this year, we hope to, move him all up and down the line. I think that's probably his calling, having him used as that Julio chess piece when Shanahan was here, moving him up and down the line just to see what the defense is going to give an audible to a favorable matchup that's seen by Kurt for Kyle. So for me, as you mentioned, it would be Kyle Pitts. It is Kyle Pitts, I feel. But there's arguments also that could be made for other guys on this list, too. Tyler Algier, while some may scratch their head and say, why, is this going to be a favorable offense for Tyler Algier? No pushover by no sense. Was a 1,000-yard receiver before Bijan came onto the roster. I think he could have been a 1,100 plus back if he wasn't inactive in week 2 against the Rams his rookie year, and he ended up with 1,036 yards, breaking rookie records and whatnot for the running back position, long-standing by William Andrews Jr. Is he another guy that could benefit, or could we see a decline possibly in Tyler Algier because of this offense?
You mean like decline in production?
Yeah, decline in production.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I just think in today's NFL world, man, with especially, I mean, you need to have 2 productive running backs. Like we can't. I mean, we hopefully won't give Bijan like the Derrick Henry treatment and give him 300 touch. I mean, that's insane. That's a recipe to get him to hurt or not be in every game. But yeah, they complement each other so well, but they do things differently. You know what I mean? They just do it differently. We've all, Tyler's going to run through your face, you know what I mean? And he may make a cut or two, but he's trying to get up north and south as quickly as he can, whereas Bijan obviously is trying to break some ankles and do what he has to do. But, and Tyler, he's, I think, a little bit underrated when it comes to catching the ball. That's something he can do out of the backfield as well. And that's something that I think we're going to see. I hope that we see, because that we can't be so one-dimensional, whereas like if Bijan's in the game, okay, could be run or pass, but if Tyler's in, it's definitely going to be a run. Like we can't, you know what I mean? Like it's got to be some misdirection there, or like just, giving some thoughts to defense that Tyler can catch the ball. So we're not changing our offense just because Tyler's in the game and Bijan's not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but I mean, stats wise, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of decline in stats, but production, I think when he's in, he's going to be the same dude, just like, and probably even, more fresh. And, ideally, we even talked about this last year. Ideally, late in the game, we're up. Yeah, you bring that guy and let Bijan take a little breather. You bring him in, let him beat on some linebackers and safeties for a little while that, they don't want to see the rest of the game. But that's, that didn't happen last year like we thought it might. But, this year, God willing, and, all fingers and toes crossed, what I mean? We scored some more points and we got the lead in the fourth quarter, then that might be able to happen. But yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. Coming out of BYU and a draft pick that you called in that year, and not necessarily in the 5th round, but you did call
it.
Tyler Algier to the Atlanta Falcons. Was no pushover at BYU, an all-purpose back in his own right, amassed well over 1,600 yards in all-purpose yards. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a kid that can excel possibly in this. The question was that the question at hand. Could he dip? And you brought up great points. I'll piggyback off of those points. And I think he could have a little bit more production. I think that a lot of people sleep on the versatility that Tyler Algier offers in this offense. I mean, we all know that whatever you want to call Bijan, the thunder or the lightning, whichever, or the lightning, Tyler is definitely that thunder, or vice versa. And he could do just as much as Bijan as possible, man. So I can see his stats probably hovering around a little bit more than what he did last year. And I'll bring up those stats now as far as what was had for these Atlanta Falcons last year in terms of the rushing departments. We'll get into this young man right here, Drake London. Who's this guy? Oh, God. Yeah. So as we see here, 683 yards for Tyler Algier, 976 for Bijan, and that would have easily been 1,000 yards right there. He could have very well broken the record that Tyler just put up in 2021 or 2022, excuse me, when he broke the 1,000-yard mark. As we all remember, Bijan had that crazy Tampa Bay Buccaneer game, the headache game. The headache situation. So we don't know, but as it stands, man, I think Tyler Algier could probably have more success in this offense. And we switch gears now. We got to talk about Drake London, man, because Drake London is a kid that's been knocking at the door of 1,000 since he's been drafted, man. Look at that, 110 targets last year, 69 receptions, 905 yards. You look at the number of targets and the yards, that to me says explosiveness in some way, shape, or form. And he was a benefactor with 17 big plays at the wide receiver position. Sure, we want that TD total to go up a little bit, but now you got a guy in Kirk Cousins that can deliver the ball, as I mentioned in the beginning, on the dime, is very accurate and goes through progressions. That's something this quarterback room has lacked before. Before Taylor and Ritter were that one read and that was it pretty much. They would get scared. Now with a Kurt here, I think Drake London could probably take the next step forward. And all too important, he's going into his third year as well in this offense. Albeit it's a new offensive scheme, but his third year with the Atlanta Falcons, 905 total yards for Drake. Do you see an uptick in this 2024 campaign?
1,000%. I think Drake, the opposite of this, what we're doing in this show, I think he has 0 pressure. I think Drake's like, man, look what y'all gave me the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Essentially, y'all gave me a practice squad QB, essentially, now. You know what I mean? And no, sorry, Drake. Or sorry, Des. But I mean, that's what you are right now. So I mean, like,
hello.
It is what it is. But
Absolutely.
look the numbers I put up, those 2 years without really a good quarterback throwing me the ball. So, yeah, it's going to be, I mean, I've said it before, and Kirk's going to be the greatest thing to happen to all these playmakers, man, for their career. And since they've been in this league, and that goes for everybody, man. So, yeah, it's just, I can't wait to see what Drake does, man. Like, I think he's, we know, he has, we're not looking at top end type of guy. We know what he's good at. He's got a huge catch radius. He can go up and grab, catch it anywhere. He's going to box out, use his body, all that good stuff. But I mean, we've already seen, just from what we've seen through the clips of training camp, where Kirk is putting the ball. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's way different than what we were seeing before, when it's like behind him, under his legs, over his head, behind his back. Same thing with Kyle. It's just going to be a lot different. So yeah, I mean, I think he's going to see quite a jump this year.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. And I feel like it's Kyle, and I'll touch back on Kyle a little bit more in a few minutes, because I think there's an important number that needs to be said in terms of what Kirk likes in his offensive playmakers and for Pitts as well. But for London, I can see him as that player that also needs to, show up a little bit more. Sure, 905 yards speaks for himself with trash ass quarterback play. Got to put that out there because it has been abysmal. But for him to put up 905 yards, with that at the quarterback position, speaks volumes of the willingness of this kid and just his he just wants it, man. This is a freaking football player that leaves it all out on the field Sunday in and Sunday out. So I'm expecting Drake London, of course, to uptick. He will. I think he will surpass that 1,000 yard mark and finally put him in that same breath as the Olaves from the draft class and Garrett Wilsons and whatnot. So I feel like, bigger things are coming for Drake, and it's a perfect situation for him to be in now with consistent quarterback play. But going back into the chat right quick, we got our brother Michael in the building. What is going on, fam? We got Smitty Sports Machine in that. Ooh, Smitty, 10K. Smitty, that is, man. What's going on, fam? Dre the Boxer comes in. He says, Tyler is super calm to be new to the league, too. Doesn't get too high or low on the sidelines, and Bijan may already have more fumbles than him. That's a fact. Bijan does have more fumbles than Tyler, and Tyler is just that, he takes that wait and see approach mentality. You know what I mean? He doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeves like a lot of players do around the league. He's just that, he keeps his head down and he just goes to work. Hopefully, with all that great makeup, he's allowed to show his worth a little bit more now within this offense. Smitty goes on to say, very wise beyond his years. He goes, Algier will be the goal line back, could score double-digit TDs, and this is very key. And it's a point that you made in the fourth quarter, right? Have Bijan coming in here, killing these guys, breaking ankles left and right, quarters 1 through 3. You can even spell him a little bit with the Avery Williams or with Chase McClellan, 6th-round pick out of Alabama, and the guy that pretty good, seeing as Alabama is who roll tide for you. And a thing or two of Jace. He's a kid that, sure, the injury bug hurt him in Alabama, but boy, did he show up when the time came in preseason, and he supplanted Carlos Washington Jr., another running back that had a great preseason for these Falcons. So the goal line situation, I'd like to get your take on that. Could you see Tyler in that role? And it kind of serves as that old TJ Duckett role, where the guy just was a touchdown machine anytime he came, within 15 yards of the goal line.
Yeah, no, I could. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Because he falls forward all the time, every time.
All the time.
So it's not, I mean, it's like I said, as long as it's not obvious, you know what I mean? We just can't make it to where, okay, Tyler's in the game, so let's pin our ears back and let's send 8, you know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be if it's on the goal line. I mean, I'm sure Zach's going to be more creative with it than just that. But, so yeah, I can definitely see that, man. It just makes sense. And then, and I think Bijan will get his, but what's, on Smitty's point, Bijan's may come from the 10-yard line and beyond, you know what I mean? Like there may be longer runs for him that he's getting in, so he'll get some opportunities, but yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, man. Sipping thoughts. This is pretty cool right here. This is boy. Tyler and Bijan will combine for over 2K yards this year. Watch. Now that's a bold statement.
Would love it.
Would love it. I felt like this could have been achievable last year, and the only reason why I say achievable last year was because of Arthur Smith's infatuation for the run game. I felt like he had 2 willing backs that could do damage, and he underutilized both parts. You know what I mean? Sure, the numbers speak for themselves, but he just didn't know how to mix the right blend on either or, and he can't blame it on the offensive line, right? So the offensive line has been rock solid. And yeah, could this happen in year 1? I might want to temper my excitement and say no instead of yes, because we have yet to see exactly what the Zach Robinson offense will entail to. This preseason gave us 0 glimpses of what that offense is going to look like. So it's hard to be like, yes, in the case for Arthur, we already knew where his background was and his pedigree was, the running game. But, on the first year, Zach, we just need a little bit more. Maybe next year, this could most definitely be achievable for both gentlemen mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, but we're all just in a wait and see, because we think it's going to look similar to McVay, right? And we think it's going to look similar to Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. It's going to be this. And even Kirk said earlier in preseason, he said, some of this is the same as Minnesota, as Kevin O'Connell ran it, but a lot of it's different. A lot of it's the exact opposite of what I would have done there. So it took him, some getting used to and having to learn that as well. So, I mean, we don't know exactly how it's going to go. We don't know how balanced it's going to be. How, we hope it's going to, come out there and average just, 28, 30 points a game, but we don't, it's just a wait and see, man. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. We got our brother Jay Diaz from the 401 neck of the woods in the building. What's happening, bro? Glad that you come by. Appreciate you joining the stream. Jay, Zay in the bag. It didn't even feel like Pitts had more yards than Jonnu. Plays looked like they were more drawn up for him and Pitts. That's a fact, man, because what did we see a lot of what's his name? Jonnu Smith last year was a lot of jet screens and screen passes. Hell, he even tried to throw a couple touchdowns in certain games. But yeah, it definitely felt like the favoritism was shown towards Jonnu Smith, and that could be because of the relationship of him and Arthur Smith spending time in Tennessee together. I mean, I don't know, but we hope for that narrative to change 100% this year. He comes back to say Pitt should at least had 150 to 200 of those Jonnu yards. Oh, okay, yeah. I agree.
With I agree. Yeah. So, but here's the only thing, and because I totally agree with that. Pitts is obviously superior to Johnny when it comes to that position and just overall as an athlete. But dude, watching that film back last year when I started doing those all 22s, like it was super clear that Pitts was hurt. Was still hurt bad. Like it was affecting him badly. And that's to the point to where, like, if anybody's watched our show before and or saw the 22s that I did, it was like we were sitting there like, does he not give a shit? Like, does he just not care? Or is he is he really hurt? Because some of those routes, man, like it was not explosive. It was not like quick out of the cuts. It was just like he was just going through the motion, almost like he was just doing like a walkthrough or something. You know what I mean? Especially in that Jets game, I was like, what is going on? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so, like, you don't see it on the TV copy, obviously, but you start watching it back, and you're like, I watched. Basically, all I did was the offense because it was so bad. I was trying to, every week kind of show folks like where we're missing and what's happening. But
Mm-hmm.
dude, I mean, like, it's watching the video from him this preseason, it's night and day, man. Like, it is night and day. Like, watching them cut and watching them just run all out. Like, this looks like the Kyle Pitts we drafted. Like, last year was a shell of himself, man. And and they're not required to talk about injuries. And then he didn't have to come out and say there's more to it than what's going on, but there was. He turned out there was more than just his MCL. There was his PCL was involved as well, which is a big difference. Than you're just talking about that type of recovery. So. I think it was partially, it was a little bit of both, probably. Like Arthur feeding his guy, but also I don't know how much he trusted Pitts.
Yeah. And it was revealed during at the end of the year that he played with two banged up knees, pretty much.
Yeah.
So now, like you mentioned, he's like poetry in motion in training camp. The kid's moving fluid. He looks like Florida Gator Pitts that we drafted fourth overall back in 2021, and we certainly hope to reap the benefit with all the numbers that he's hopefully going to put up this year. Smitty back to say Pitts definitely has the most to prove, a young talent that could be a Hall of Fame bound with a competent quarterback, and it's fantastic. Yeah. We don't know what the longevity in terms of what what Kurt's going to be here. It is a 4-year deal, but, internally we all know it's 2 years probably. But if Pitts can outdo in these 2 years what he has posted the last 2 years, now he's back on that trajectory to that, Hall of Fame, some may say, or as Smitty is saying, or just that overall great NFL player that he's primed to be. So sure, I can see that. I'm sure I can do it. Let's go Falcons family. Appreciate you joining the stream. Dave, what's happening?
What's up, Dave?
Guys, 1 week at a time is the damn slogan. That's what it should be. 1 week at a time. Cannot overlook the Pittsburgh Steelers, but definitely that mindset should be for after every game, 1-0. Think of that mentality to see how far that can carry us. Zay in the bag says, I just need Pitts to be more aggressive. And it's the common theme. We're talking about players that are under the most pressure. And I think it's synonymous to say that it's Kyle Pitts, and I'll touch on again a fact that, with Kirk Cousins in the tight end position, but we'll reveal that, or I'll reveal that in a few minutes. Smitty goes on to say, Smitty, thank you so much, man. He says, hit that subscribe button and put the 95 North Falcons Talk Show over 3K. Yes, I am close to it. Man. I'm about, I think, 10 subs away, 11 subs away, but I can't not thank everybody that has supported the platform, supported me. Really appreciate it. And to all other 2,900 plus subscribers that I already have, I thank you so very much for the kind gesture. Travis Preston says we need Pitts to go ham, justify that 4th pick and a new contract. Oh man, everybody's going in with the Kyle Pitts needing to be the successor in this newly implemented offense. Jay in the truck, what's up, bro?
What's going on, Jay?
He's here. What's up, fellas? Hot take. Casey Washington will be our version of Puka Nacua this season. Rise up. I like this because it's not out of the possibility for it. But Casey Washington showed in Illinois, as he's a receiver that's not going to wow you with his speed, but he just does all the underneath stuff correct. He does it right. He finds holes and voids and defenses, sits there and waits for the catch, and then that yak comes into play. It could be that for Casey Washington now with Kirk Cousins. It's a shame that we weren't able to see Kirk. We saw Michael Penix briefly, but the connection in the targets were there for Casey Washington, man. Again, this is a kid that's not going to wow you with his speed. He's not going to do that, but he's going to do all the little things right. And that's kind of what Puka Nacua did, I believe, at BYU. And he was able to add to his repertoire with the Rams, and boom, he bursted onto the scenes like no other. It would be a fantastic problem to have if this kid could show up like Puka Nacua, dude. I don't know. What's your take, man?
Oh hell yeah, I would love it. Yeah, who wouldn't? I mean, that's yeah, fantastic. But it's like, and I don't want to say too. I think that this shouldn't go overlooked that Ike Hilliard's imprint on this wide receiver core, not especially Casey because of being a rookie, but I think Ike is going to make a huge difference with these guys. Coaching them at the receivers as well. But yeah, dude, I like what I saw from Casey in the preseason, man. Liked it a lot. Glad he made the squad. Yeah, I think he could be a contributor for sure. Smart kid.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. As long as you got a physical trace, but how can you like you said, can you find those holes in the zone? Do you know where to go? Can you spot up where to end up? So yeah, it makes total sense. And
yeah,
we haven't mentioned him, and we always forget about him on our show, man. But Darnell Mooney just quietly goes about it. You know what I mean? Like just kind of
under the radar.
Kind of just chills. You know what I mean? Like like what to expect from that guy.
And we have a fantastic question from Smitty before we get to his. Give you a quick hot take and before we go into the chat again in terms of what the title of this is offensive players with with most to prove in 2024. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's synonymous. I think it is Kyle Pitts. There's arguments that could be made and so about Bijan being the player to unlock this entire offense. To those that have had opinions on that, you are not wrong. I'm not here to say that you are. That is your opinion, and it's very valid because you can find ways of really, arguing that it's this offense will go as far as Bijan as Bijan takes you. But there is a 1B to Bijan, and that being Tyler Algier, that may have something to say in terms of that and how the ball is distributed or handed off to in the offense. I kind of have to go with Kyle Pitts and agree with everybody. I think Kyle Pitts is the key in unlocking this Falcons offense and exactly what it's meant to be or what it's going to be under Zach Robinson. Kirk Cousins, as we all know, the quarterback here. But let me give you a little nugget that some folks may not know. 27% of Kirk Cousins' passes to intended targets last year went to the tight end position. TJ Hawkinson last year saw a massive uptick in targets last year, finishing the season with 126 targets last year for the Minnesota Vikings. Sure, a lot had to do with the in and out of Justin Jefferson out of the lineup because of injury, but Kirk Cousins has always relied on the tight end or the tight end position. In Washington, of course, in Minnesota, he comes to a situation now here in Atlanta, right, where he has our presumed unicorn, a kid that has all the accolades, all the measurables and traits to be a phenomenal tight end. And at full display now, and at full display will be that of Kyle Pitts with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball. I feel like Kirk Cousins is going to find Pitts early and often, and that's going to be a duo to be reckoned with, man. Kyle Pitts is a guy that's over 6'5", 6'6" in height, man. And in the red zone, he's going to be so pivotal and key to this Falcons offense that it's gonna allow or just force defenses really to shift their defenses on third down, the more critical ones on third down, and even red zone defense, where the Falcons could really challenge these teams. Because how do you contain a guy with those measurables, knowing that he's at a mismatch or your defender's at a mismatch almost every time anybody lines up against him, unless you're taking your CB number one and floating him to Pitts to try and contain him. That's really not done a lot in the NFL. The last defensive guru to do that was Bill Belichick when Aqib Talib was lining up against Robert Gronkowski in certain matchups with Tampa Bay and New England. That doesn't happen anymore. It's kind of moved away from that. So what better time than now to just reignite the value that is Kyle Pitts with Kirk Cousins. So for that, I feel and firmly believe it's Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has to be the one to get it going early and often in order for everybody in this offense to eat and sleep better at night.
Yep. And as one caveat too from the Rams offense is they use motion a ton. a ton. And I mean, and we did too last year to
Mm-hmm.
that effect. We just do it very effectively. You know, I mean, we didn't have a great quarterback. I mean, Kyle was hurt. When, you know, like it was a disaster. Like the offense was just a disaster, you know. I mean, but with the motion that they use too, I mean, especially in the red zone, like that's what you're talking about, creating mismatches. Like, as smart as Kirk is reading a defense, and you know, and even, you know, getting those players set up, you know, pre-snap, you know, and being able to get those guys in those positions. Yeah, you're going to see some very upset defensive coordinators when they've got some guys matched up against Pitts who shouldn't be, or, you know, because you've got two guys on pitch now Drake is, you know, left in single coverage, and, you know, and throw him a jump ball, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be plenty of opportunities, you know, for that offense to. I just can't wait to see it, dude. I just want to see how this is going to be set up. And
bro, yeah. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Not going to go out and say this is the next version of the greatest show on turf, but I may.
I mean, it's there. It's there. It's there.
Oh man, I'm gonna put this out on wax right now and see if somebody criticizes it. But hey, listen, man, I wear my emotions on my sleeve about these Atlanta Falcons.
Hey, look, dude, yeah, if you go back and look at our show last year, and me and Mike, like at the beginning of the year, we were like, hey, y'all, you think, you know, we put out the question, you think Arthur can be here for 10 years and bring us Super Bowl? Everybody's like, hell yeah, he can. Definitely he can. You think Ritter going to be the quarterback for 10? Yeah, he definitely can. I mean, yeah, that's how, you know, Falcon color glasses we were wearing. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but that's we're fans, man. Like, you want to believe the positive, you want to believe the best, and like, you know, you see all the as Falcons fans, we're a whole other bag though. You know, we've been hurt and abused so many times over the years. It's like, shit, do I get this excited? Do I reel it in some? You know, like, I told it on my show, like, or on our show, like, I was doing really good at staying even killed. Then we went and signed freaking Judon and Simmons in the same day, and I was like, all right, well, that's out the window now. I can't. I'm ready to go. We're, you know, going to the freaking Super Bowls. But I mean, like, you know, it's just that's a fan, man. That's what we are.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Going back into the chat, I like this one right here by Dave. Shout out to you, my brother. He says, I want the OC on the field as opposed to the booth. And this is very key what he says here. Player and coaches need to feel the energy on the sideline. 1000%.
So not this then. Is what you're saying? Not this? So when you come to the sideline, just don't be okay.
Oh shit. Oh man. I listen.
Yeah, that's for you, Arthur. God damn it.
God damn it. Yeah, breaking news. Arthur Smith is the OC. So we're gonna be privileged to a lot of those memes this week on the sideline. Well, depending on where he sits, man. And if I was him, I would sit in the booth somewhere, because that man is going to get booed and shit thrown at him.
Oh my god, dude.
Sunday, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be he better be wearing earplugs or some shit, because he's gonna have exactly.
For sure. But to Dave's point, yeah, I think this goes hand in hand. You know, energy plays such a pivotal role. And as the term is used, man, it allows people to get in their bag as far as how they're going to call their next play. There's nothing like having somebody get in the zone about something that they love to do, right? And Zach Robinson, as talked up as he's been, it'll be scary to see what he starts drawing up once he's in that bag or in that mindset to just decapitate defenses, and their alignment to a would-be stopper. So I agree with this. I think, yes, I'm with you. I feel like the OC should be on the field just so we can get that sense of energy from the fans, the crowd, the players themselves, and just make it happen, man. Travis Preston comes back with another question. He says, what is your expectation for Rook? I'll give you my expectation, but I'll throw this out there too. So this one highlights the expectation on the offense. I'm working on also doing a live where the expectation on certain defensive players as well. Rook is going to be one of them. But for right now, I feel like Rook showed a lot of great makeup in this preseason. We saw him get his first sack against the Baltimore Ravens. He's a kid that's still learning the position. He's a versatile piece to this defense. I think that Coach Ra and Jimmy Lake will probably use him as a movable chess piece in certain aspects before he firmly cements himself as a true defensive tackle. I think he can play the tweener role right now. I think we got two guys that can do that for us in Brandon Dorlus as well. But Rook, the size, the length, the speed that he plays with. I think he's better served as trying to be used as a wrecking ball before we hone all that in and just label him a DN or defensive tackle. So for my expectations for him is use him to his best strengths, and that right now is using his versatility that he offers.
Perfect. Yeah, I got nothing else to add to that. Yeah, he's just he's a raw athlete who needs a little bit of just some technique and just being coached up by Jay Rogers and the
Yeah.
guys around him. And look, we saw, like I said, that last preseason game, you saw the kind of speed and just kind of like burst he could have coming through the line. So yeah, I think you're right. Maybe later in the games when those offensive linemen are tired, and they want to spell Grady and they get a young cat in there that wants to come, wants to go eat, then hey, maybe that's when we see him.
Definitely, man. Definitely. We have a great question here by Smitty. And this one, we talked about Darnell Mooney just a second ago. Question: how do y'all feel about Darnell Mooney in the wide receiver 2 spot? I'll defer to you, then I'll chime in. What is your take on Darnell Mooney right now as our assumed wide receiver 2?
I like Darnell a lot. I like the signing. We know he had up and down. He was up and down at Chicago. It seemed like he did well with one offensive scheme and then not so well in another offensive scheme. Again, you can talk about the quarterback he had throwing the ball there, all that stuff, similar things, right? But he's just a fantastic route runner, fantastic. So I think he's a good complement to what we have as far as Drake. You have somebody who can get in and out. Obviously not the same kind of quick feet. Well, he is quick, but I mean, not like Calvin Ridley type. And we saw how good Calvin was in and out of the route, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but along those same lines, you know what I mean? So yeah, not necessarily like a deep ball type of guy. I mean, he can go, but it's not like that's not what you're. And that's not what you're going to get out of him. Which I think a lot of folks have been wanting to address that. Why just get somebody else in here that is more of a deep threat? Which I understand that, but you have to also wonder how much is Pitts going to be using that as well? Because Pitts is a legitimate deep threat. He's a 4-4 guy, who can go down there and get it. So we just don't know. We don't know how much, if they feel like they're good, then they're okay. Then we'll may see more of that, Pitts going, deep shots type of thing. But with Darnell though, I'm good. I mean, I want to see how it's going to work, but I like the player. I like what he can do. So
yeah, and to your point, we saw a lot of up and down from him. He was a former 1,000-yard receiver in the league already. I think he played under the Luke Gatsby scenario in the beginning, which it was give or take. I could have the coordinator wrong, but don't quote me. But Darnell Mooney, of course, kind of like what Drake London has faced. It's just inconsistent quarterback play. I think for the money that he was signed, by default, he is wide receiver number 2 until otherwise shown, right? He could turn up to be a very expensive number 3. And in due time, who knows that maybe it's Kyle Pitts that ends up with wide receiver 2 numbers. As it was mentioned, Pitts was going to learn the wide receiver position a little bit more as well this offseason, along with learning all the new nuances to the tight end position. So there could be, a balance there of some sort. But for right now, I'm fine with Darnell Mooney at the wide receiver 2 spot. I think this is a kid that may fly under the radar, especially in fantasy. Just throwing that out there. There's a draft coming up pretty soon.
8:00 tonight.
Got to throw that out there. But yeah, of course, man. So yeah, under the radar, I think that, Mooney could have an impact. He could have a significant impact. And, on a team that doesn't really know what it's going to get out of Ray McCloud too, we could be seeing, Drake, Kyle, Mooney situation at year's end. So, but to the question, I'm fine with Mooney at wide receiver number 2. He goes on to say, thank you, John, for always supporting the crew. Shout out to Out of Your Falcon Mind, 100%. Thank you.
Absolutely, buddy. Always,
supporting, brother, man. He's Jay the Boxer says, everybody's asking if we go 2-1 or 1-2 with this roster. But if we go 3-0 against these juggernauts, is the division all but a guarantee? Great question. Great question, right? Because we're catching a certain team that is a juggernaut early on in the season. As we all know, the Kansas City Chiefs traditionally start off slow before they hit the ground running. As we saw last year's opener, they dropped it to the Detroit Lions, a talented Detroit Lions team. It's not out of the question that we can't come out of the gate 3-0. Every team that we're facing in the first 3 weeks have an underlying issue. Week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're playing the replacements on offensive line. That and that could be hell for Justin. For Russell Wilson. At the Benz. Not to mention that future is probably going to be played heavily to just distract the shit out of him.
Yeah,
so that also plays in it. Why not? Right? It's a competitive advantage. So yeah, with Philly in week 2. I really feel like the Hurts Sirianni situation is more serious than a lot of people are paying attention to. That team fell off the rails last year, late in the season, and we don't know what skeletons were able to be buried during the offseason. So who knows? One disagreement on the sideline could just reignite all that bad feeling, from last year. And like I mentioned with the Kansas City situation, team naturally plays slow to begin with. So the Falcons could very well catch them at a downtime. And by the way, these same Falcons played their asses off back in, I think, 2020 or 2021 against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So we know a thing or two of what's to come.
Could have won that game. Yeah.
We could have most definitely won that game. I think it was AJ that dropped a would-be interception in the end zone. It could have went either way.
Yeah.
That season was forgettable, but hey,
Okay.
it is what it is. But what do you think? Is this something that's achievable? 3-0 for these Atlanta Falcons to start in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all seen in this league anything's achievable, man. Like anything can happen. I do think that's a possibility. I mean, we've said, look, if we come out the first 4 2-2, like I'm happy. Like I can live with that in that world. You know what I mean? But yeah, be greedy, man. I'd love to go 3-0, 4-0. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, why the hell not? But yeah, and yeah, I would think the division would be ours at that point. If you can go out there and beat those teams like that, you know what I mean, and look good doing it. And stay, and really health is the biggest thing, man. Like, cause we're deep, yes, but like, we want these guys. We're deep. I should say that we're deep at some spots, but like we just need our guys to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, I mean, hell yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Why? Let's fucking do it, man. Absolutely. I got to shout out one over right here. Debo Vibes, what's happening, brother?
Hello, Debo.
Yes, sir. Glad you could make it through the stream. Appreciate you supporting the channel. But please, folks, also support Debo Vibes on YouTube, another up-and-coming and great Falcons content creator. He's just getting into his bag, into his zone. So look out for more amazing content from Debo himself on his YouTube platform. And that not just goes for Debo Vibes, that goes for Smitty, that goes for Chris Tipmore, A1 Forever Sports, that goes for Audio Falcon Mind, and every other content creator that's out in this Falcons community, working and grinding hard on a week-to-week basis to keep us all, the fans, of course, up to the minute on everything that is Atlanta Falcons. But before we wrap up, man, going on into a little bit more of the chat, man. Let's see who else is up in here, man. There's a lot of folks in here, man. Oh man,
for a pop-up show on a Monday night.
Not bad for a pop-up show. We certainly enjoy it and definitely appreciate you guys coming through. Jana Truck, he comes up with an interesting one. Who's more likely to re-sign with us, Judon or Simmons? I'll defer to you, my friend. What do you feel?
That's a good question. Man, I mean, I would like to say probably maybe Simmons, and I don't have a really great justification for it other than that Judon's 32, right? And you don't necessarily see long-term extensions getting done for older pass rushers, but if he produces and he's still at a high level, then 2 or 3 years, I can see that. Like I said, for Bach, because Simmons is not a young guy either. I mean, he's 30? Is he 31? Same age?
I think he's 30 or 31. Yeah,
somewhere in there. So I mean, not like he's in his mid-20s either. But I mean, I flip a coin, brother. I don't think there's a good argument to be made to, as long as both of them produce. I think. I mean, hell, I know they'd love to keep them both because I mean, just having that pairing though of Simmons and Bates together, like if they can stay together for a few years, I mean, yeah, I'll be down
something.
with that. Yeah.
It's something, man. I'm gonna go with Matt Judon. It's great arguments for Simmons. Ball hawk in the league would be phenomenal just to see that pairing with him
Mhm.
and Jesse just prolong a little bit longer. But of course, I think Simmons was brought in more for the short term, which is now. With DeMarco waiting in the wings. I can't say the other guy because I don't think he's going to factor into any future plans. And Richie
Yeah.
Grant. But DeMarco's definitely a guy that with this great coaching staff, Justin Hood and Jerry Gray, I think they can coach him up, a little bit more, and we can see a fantastic pairing with Jesse and DeMarco down the line. So the guy for me is Matt Judon, and solely for the fact, right? What this Falcons team has missed since the days of John Abraham has been a consistent pass rusher, right? It's something that the fan base has been salivating for. It's something that's been needed for a very, very, very long time, man. So I think Matt Judon would probably be the contract extension candidate here in Atlanta. You mentioned 32 years of age and guys at that age already signing something long term. Let me remind, Von Miller, I think, signed a contract extension when he was 31 or so. So, it's not out of the question that the same, could happen for Matt Judon. A lot of the things that have been said behind the scenes too. Is he gonna put up sack numbers? Can he be disruptive on the edge? So many people make a claim that Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree left. That's 13 sacks that left. Just a year ago, 2022, a year and a half ago, Matt Judon put up 12 and a half sacks, just a half a sack shy than what two guys that just left in Atlanta put up.
Yep.
So Matt Judon has something to say, and I feel like for his for what he's done in this league, I think he's more in line to get the contract extension. But thank you, Jay in the truck, for the question. We'll take a couple more before we wrap up. Shout out to 10 underscore Cam01 Shitberg Squealers Country. Let's cry, man.
God.
But man,
this be a t-shirt.
Hey, listen, that's good stuff right there, man. But man, again, thank you so very much to everybody that has joined the platform. I really appreciate you coming up on this quick pop-up show, man. John, I appreciate what you being available and coming on. Please, let the folks know where they can find you and let them know of up and coming projects coming from the Out of Your Falcon Mind tandem.
Yeah, man. So we are fully back tomorrow night, 8:15. Normally our preview shows for the games coming up is going to be on Wednesday nights at 7. But this week I've got a thing at Liam's school, so we have to move it to tomorrow night. But it'll be tomorrow night, 8:15, previewing the Steelers game. Like I said, Mike hasn't been on the show in about 2.5, 3 months, something like that. He had to take a little break, but he's back. So I cannot wait. It's just a different show with Mike. I mean, I shout out to all the guys that were able to come in and co-host with me while he was out. It was awesome. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, Mike's definitely it's a different cat. So if you've never seen the show, you need to tune in because like Mike's energy is just unmatched, man. I can't, nobody can live up to that. What he brings. But and then our recap shows are typically going to be on Sundays after the game, as long as again schedule allows. Worst case scenario, maybe Monday we do a recap show. So it'll be somewhere on there. Just keep your eyes locked on the channel, which again, Out of Your Falcon Mind, you can just go find us on YouTube. Subscribe. We're closing in on 1,600, I think, subscribers. So something like that. So yeah, so we like I said, we didn't expect to keep going when we took a break, but now Mike's got some ideas, man. He's gonna be posting a lot more during this season, and we might be doing some more. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the all 22 yet. It takes a lot of time to edit and really put together. So I'm gonna see if I've got that. I enjoyed it, but we'll see. But it'll be definitely 2 shows a week, and then probably some pop-ups here or there. Probably some definitely collaborations with you guys as the season goes along. So and if we're on Twitter or X, whatever, Out of Your effing Mind on that platform. That's what we use the most of. And I think Mike will be back posting on TikTok and Instagram pretty soon as well, which you can just follow us Out of Your Falcon Mind there. And that's it, man. I appreciate you having me on, buddy, as always. It's great to do a show with you. Man,
absolutely, man. I love it. The chemistry is always great, man. Got to shout out a couple people before I get into mine that are in the chat. Nathan Floyd, Appreciate you coming through. Michael Johnson, thank you so much for joining the stream this evening. Archangel, man, an amazing supporter.
What's up, brother?
He's right there with King Atlanta supporter, man. Two just unbiased supporters of all Atlanta Falcon content. Thank you so very much for always being a supporter to every single one of us Atlanta Falcon content creators. And of course, John Higgins, my brother John Higgins.
What's up, buddy?
Glad you're doing good, man. All is well up here, man. Hope to talk to you soon, but I'm glad that you were able to catch at least the back end of the show. And a very important tidbit, of course, as Smitty says, man, catch the NFC South Roundtable tomorrow at 7 p.m. On YouTube. Please go out and subscribe to the NFC South Roundtable. It's been an amazing collaboration with people from our community, Atlanta Falcons. The representatives are Smitty, and I fill in for Smitty from time to time. But we have a Saints podcaster, a Buccaneers podcaster, and a Panthers podcaster. And every week it's a battle, man. So you don't want to miss the fireworks. So get your popcorn ready when you do watch the show. That comes on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. And of course, I'm your host, Berto, host of the 95 North Falcons Talk Show. Those are the credentials on the bottom. Please subscribe to the 95 North Falcons Talk Show on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter or X under RI Falcons. You can find me also on Bleacher Report as 95 North Berto. I had an amazing assignment this afternoon. It's there for the watching. I have poll questions that are up there. Please, I hope if you guys can visit it, please go on and take aim at it, man. I really appreciate it. And on Instagram, Berto95 North. Wednesday night is the new night for the 95 North Sports Machine. We have Bro Talk from Twitter, as most of you know. We know him as Kev, joining the crew. So there's 4 of us now, but we'll be rocking out prime time, 8 o'clock Wednesday nights, post-game show immediately after the game concludes this Sunday. I'll be on Bleacher Report, but the fellas will be on, and I'll join shortly after that. Thursday nights, we have something in the makings, myself and Bryce Lewis as 3 keys to victories for the up-and-coming Pittsburgh Steelers game. That's something to look out for as well. Bro, we're just trotting out content, trying to give it and deliver it the best way that we possibly can. Shout out to all the content creators out in this Falcon space. Again, John, thank you so very much for coming on the show this evening. I'm your boy Berto, host of the 95 North Falcons Talk Show, and we will catch y'all very soon, everybody. Peace.